to monetize properties. And I think that's what enabled us to be successful. It is, I mean, honestly, I really think it's the consistency, right? In this business, in any facet of real estate, people can't go through the pounding, right? They can't go through the beating that it takes of getting told no after no after no after no. And most people say, hey, this is not working, and they abandon ship. And so I was very blessed, not only for me, but my partner to have that same attitude, to show up every day, be consistent. And I feel like that's how we started to win.
Hello, everyone. Sergio Tiffer here, and welcome back to Cracking the Code, the podcast where we dive into real strategies that move the needle in your business. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by a true visionary in the real estate world. Giovonni Paradis is a high-level real estate professional, creative strategist, and a forward-thinking leader who's redefining what's possible in the industry. From building thriving real estate operations to mentoring rising talent, Giovonni is known for turning bold ideas into scalable success. Giovonni, how you doing, brother? Thank you for joining me today.
I'm doing great, man. Living the dream, or somebody else's.
Living the dream. So for the people that don't know you yet, we have a lot of views, and I know that close to maybe 50 or 100,000 people will see you. You know, we're friends in Virginia, but I want you to introduce yourself. You know, who are you? What is it that you do? Just give us a little introduction about yourself, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Yeah, I guess what I do is, I guess is a loaded question these days. My background, I'm a career salesman. I got into sales right out of high school, entered into the workforce, sold cars, sold timeshare, was in the nightlife industry. And then I got into real estate when I was about 23, 24 years old. I was a real estate agent here in Virginia Beach, primarily was a listing agent. And then I worked with investors. I found, very early on in my real estate career that I enjoyed the investing side. And then I loved working with investors as well. So a couple years ago, I'd say about 3 years ago, I was in a room. I had moved back down here from Massachusetts to my hometown of Virginia Beach. And I was like in a conference room, and these guys, we were talking real estate, and they told me how much money they were making wholesaling.
Right.
And a little light bulb came on, and I was like, you made how much last month? Oh, you made, he's like, this young kid, he's like, I made $40,000 last month. And I said, wait a minute.
That's what I'm making in a year.
Yeah, I was like, if this guy makes $40,000 in a month, I'm going to get rich doing this. And so I called my buddy up. He was a club promoter. I said, hey, do you want to get rich? I was like, post on your Instagram, I buy houses cash. We're going to be millionaires. And that's how I started, man. I restarted my life 3 years ago, too. So I moved back down here, and I was at ground zero, literally started at 0 3 years ago.
There you go. That's a testament of persistence, right? So when did you wholesale your first house? Was it during COVID time or before?
2022.
22. So you got out of the peak. Because I remember, the peak actually was 2021. I remember I was in the business doing flips and wholesales. I started in 2018. But the peak was to 2021. So you got it. Did you get in at the first 6 months of 2022 or after? Because I remember the first 6 months were like super high, and then third quarter and fourth quarter was like because the rates started going up.
I got it on the bad part. So just to give you a little background, and again, this is all on the social media. I have no shame of my past, so the mistakes I've made. When I was a top producer real estate agent, I was about 24, 25 years old. My past caught up with me. I made some bad decisions. I was born into a life that I'm not proud of, and I ended up serving over a half a decade in federal prison. I was released in 2022. I was working in Massachusetts. I had a cousin who does very well for himself, and he was a developer. He's an engineer by trade, and things didn't work out with his then new fiance, and I moved back to Virginia in June of 2022. So I was, second, third quarter right there of the year, and I was working in for First Class Real Estate selling franchises, and I was in a big resource center, and there was a big brokerage in there, and I kept hearing in the hallways rates were starting to climb.
Yes.
It was the inflationary environment was starting to come into fruition. And I started hearing people complaining about how hard real estate was getting. And for me, that was when it first dawned on me that I needed to get back into the game somewhat, getting back into the retail side, reactivate my license because when it's hard, that means a lot of people are going to quit.
Yes.
A lot of people are going to work less and they're going to go pick up a second job. They're going to go get into some. So I kind of got into it, about August of almost exactly 3 years ago to the day is when I formed the Camus Group and merged with my partner now, Ranji.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you've been seen to think outside of the box, and during 2022 was bad, but wasn't as bad as 2023. Like 2023 was like where a lot of companies were dying in real estate. I have a virtual assistant company. I lost almost half of my clients because they literally went underwater, because I have clients throughout the United States. So, the guys in Cali, San Diego, New York, Miami, they were calling Sergio, I love your company. I love my virtual assistants. I'm underwater. Like, I'm going to have to sell my company. I've been firing people right and left. So, you think outside the box. How was your 2023, and why you think that you succeeded when a lot of other people were just dying left and right?
I mean, I would say sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right? I mean, even though I say I don't believe in luck, but I got very blessed with the strategic partnership I had. I met my partner many years ago. We didn't really know each other well. We didn't have a deep personal relationship. He was actually my mentor that got me into real estate. It was his next door neighbor. And when we met, he had been flipping houses for about 8 years. And then, I was a real estate agent. My partner is a lawyer by trade. He was a merger and acquisitions attorney. He owned title company, mortgage company, and a finance company. So he had an extensive background in finance and obviously knew how to scale a business, understood P&Ls. And then I had an extensive real estate background as an agent working for a flipper. I used to be in construction as a teenager. That was my first job at 13 years old. I was a tile helper, did commercial plumbing, granite countertops. So I had a lot of our skills kind of worked together. I was a very high sales guy. He understood marketing. We put our heads together, and I knew in the very beginning that there's no such thing as a wholesale lead. And so I designed my company from inception. I went and built a real estate team. When I had nothing, I had no leads, I had no proof of concept. It was just an idea and a vision. I went and recruited about 12 agents, and I started a real estate team. And so the reason for that being is I knew that the lead that comes in, it's just a motivated seller lead.
Right.
There's no such thing as a wholesale lead. So if that property is retail ready, they're very educated, the consumer. They say, hey, I want 300,000. I know what comps are going for. I needed a way to monetize that lead. Most wholesalers, hey, if I can't buy it for 50, 60 cents on the dollar,
they're
trash, move them, right? And then something that I was always very good at, math has always been one of my strong suits. And then having a partner with a background in finance was really advantageous. I was really able to master creative financing very quickly. And I scaled my business because we were able to do deals when other people weren't.
Right.
And I really built out a lot of relationships. And I really created 5 buckets in the very beginning before I even fully understood those 5 buckets to monetize properties. And I think that's what enabled us to be successful. It is, I mean, honestly, I really think it's the consistency, right? Mm-hmm. In this business, in any facet of real estate, people can't go through the pounding, right? They can't go through the beating that it takes of getting told no after no after no after no. And most people say, hey, this is not working, and they abandon ship. And so I was very blessed, not only for me, but my partner to have that same attitude, to show up every day, be consistent. And I feel like that's how we started to win.
Absolutely. And I know you work a lot on your personal image now. And how do you want to portray yourself to the world? And speaking about that, I know that you're not just a wholesaler. I mean, you flip houses, you do wholesales, you do rentals, you have a team. So you have a lot of avenues right there. So wholesalers in general have a bad reputation. We all know that. So how do you combat that? Or how do you tell these guys that are trying to get into the business to avoid that? Because, if you get a property under contract and then you don't perform, you can put someone in a really bad spot because, they might be trusting you and they say, okay, I'm going to get a lease because my property is going to get sold, and then nothing happens and then they get stuck in the middle, or, they're trying to move out of the state and then all of a sudden it's not going to happen anymore. So that's one of the things that I always criticize about wholesalers or peer wholesalers. Like, hey, if you're not going to make it happen, probably tell the seller quickly that you're not going to make it happen because it's a life-changing situation for them. So how do you approach that, and what kind of tips you want to give to wholesalers in general?
I think you can appreciate this is everything starts with education, right? And I was very fortunate that I was a real estate professional prior to becoming a wholesaler. So when I was a listing agent, I understood in the very beginning, I used to list anyone's house, no matter what they wanted for the house. So let's say the house was worth max 400. If they wanted to list it for 425, I would list it because I wanted the feeling or the sensation that, hey, I signed a listing agreement, I got a listing. But then what happens? The listing doesn't sell, doesn't get phone calls, the seller's blowing me up, it's taking mental energy, they're mad at me, it's taking my time, effort, and energy. So I knew very early on when I wholesaled, there is no superlative award, right? There's no participation award. There's no, hey, I got a property under contract. We're here to monetize properties. If the numbers don't make sense, the math has to make sense. You have to understand and know how to pull comps. You got to be able to accurately run an ARV, and you got to understand the local market that you're trying to wholesale properties in. You need to understand that not all areas are created equally, that people extend themselves based on the area that the property's in, based on the holding time, based on a lot of different factors. So a lot of people that I've seen that have gotten to wholesaling over the last half a decade, right? Because you had that boom where it's become a fad. There's such an undereducation. These people just don't understand numbers at all. They've never flipped a house. They've never helped anyone sell the house. They don't understand title issues. They don't understand a lot of things, right? And I'm sure you see it all the time. Every day someone sends you a deal and there's no, you don't even need to go pull comps. You just look at it on a napkin.
I'm like, this is not a good deal.
Yeah, exactly. They're selling you deals on $80,000 spreads. It's just, they have no concept of what it takes to flip a house, or what it takes to even, the worst ones are people that pitch rental deals. The wholesalers that, hey, this is a turnkey rental, and not understanding, they don't even understand interest rates. That, hey, what it's rented out for, the mortgage is going to be higher than what the rent is because of interest rates, right? So I think education, Sergio, would be my answer to that. Because if you're educated, you're not going to do a bad deal. If you're educated, you're not going to mislead a seller. Right. You're going to keep them informed. You know very quickly when you lock a property up within a few days whether you have a deal or not. You don't need to wait until the end of the contract to tell a seller that it's not working. And my thing is, if I know that a deal is on the fence when it comes to wholesaling, when I'm really tight, there has to be some other factor with the property that I'm going to tell the seller, hey, everything looks good at this price. However, I do feel the floor is a little soft. I need to get someone to crawl it to finalize this number. And so there has to be a reason. You can't, I see a lot of wholesalers, they'll just go back to a seller and say, hey, I need a $20,000 price reduction. But based on what? Right. Right. And people, you got to understand that to us, we don't understand and fathom $10,000, $15,000 price cut because we have no emotion tied. But $10,000 to $15,000 is life-changing money to some people. It changes somebody's entire life. And people don't realize that people already spend that money before the deal's closed. The seller's already bought a new car, paid for their kids, college or whatever they needed to spend that money on. And mentally and emotionally, that money is already spent. So when you go tell them, hey, I need 10, 15, 20,000 off, you're punching them in the gut. You're taking something from them now that is more important than money. And so again, you can't just, it's unprofessionalism. And it's, again, undereducation in our industry. And that's why, Sergio, I've done a lot of stuff for free. I've done a lot of education, a lot of courses, because I want people to be informed. I want them to learn the right way to do it, because bad wholesalers, bad investors, they ruin it for guys that really close deals. Because now all these properties are locked up way higher than they should be. Sellers now have unrealistic expectations based on the property condition because of these wholesale.
Yeah, I usually tell my sellers, say, hey, look, I'm going to put this property in a contract, and the two things are going to happen. Either we buy it or someone else is going to buy it. So if no one wants it, I'll take it. I'll pay you the cash and I'll flip it myself. Because, I'm a flipper and I can wholesale as well. Like, I'm not a wholesaler as a true-fledged wholesaler, but if I'm too full, I'm going to say, hey, I'm probably just going to wholesale this. And if you're okay with this, fine, let's get it under contract. If no one buys it, I'll buy it because I know my numbers. So, I'm fine with this. That's usually how I approach it. So you build great teams. I've seen the agents that work with you. I know some of the investors that work with you. Some of them are my friends. What do you think is more important? You think culture or just having a skilled team? Like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to coach skills or do you prefer to coach culture with the guys that you work with?
I prefer to coach skills, right? Because the most important thing to me, when building a team or going to war with somebody, is the work ethic, the consistency, the discipline, the mentality. You can't really teach that, right? It's hard to teach that work ethic and that hunger. It's either in you or it's not. That ability to push through pain, that grit, the ability to push through adversity. So I identify that as someone that's going to show up every day. I can go to war with that person. I don't care how talented you are. If you don't show up, if you're not disciplined, if you're not consistent, you're not going to win, right? You've heard the old adage, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, building a team, I'm looking for people that show up. They're ready to go to war. I'm here to support them. My partner is here to support them. Whatever they're deficient at, we put someone with them that is efficient in those areas.
Absolutely. And another question that I wanted to ask you, because you're good at marketing. Do you learn it by yourself or how was it? How was the path of learning marketing? Because I've seen your Facebook ads, I've seen your PPC ads, your website and everything that you do. At some point, a lot of people miss that. How do you learn it?
Yeah. I was grateful. Again, I partnered with someone that had baseline experience doing this. He started out, and then we just really do a lot of critical thinking together. We bounce ideas off of each other. We do a lot of research. We try to do and innovate every single day. We're constantly trying to push the envelope, and no matter where we're at in the business cycle, we're trying to find ways to be better at every marketing channel, to refine it and refine the process, keeping our eyes on the numbers. And again, spending a lot of money. A lot of people are afraid to spend the money in marketing because they don't have a bona fide way to monetize. They don't have a funnel. Right. And I'm very confident in me and my partner's abilities, along with the support of our team, that we've tried these marketing channels and we're able to quickly identify. The thing is most people will try a marketing channel. They'll do it for 30 or 60 days and then say it doesn't work. You don't have enough data to say that doesn't work. So we've tried stuff with our money. Right. And you realize what we do for a living, it is a high return on investment. The ROI is crazy. So you spend $30,000 on a marketing campaign, you really only got to do 2 deals to make it back, right?
But you gotta just one sometimes.
Yeah, one, right? But I'm saying at the minimum, there's 2. Right? If you're spending $15,000, right, that's 1 deal and you're in the green. But most people, again, think they need that instant gratification. Like, people I know start wholesaling, and if in 45 days they don't have a deal, they say it doesn't work. They say it sucks. And they don't realize that the exponential growth, that you're getting better every single day, but consistency looks like nothing's happening until all of a sudden, boom, you start making $1 million, right? But most people can't go through that flat line stage, that ramp up stage where you're figuring it out, you're getting your scripts down, your process, because even going on an appointment is a process. There's a process to everything, even if it's internalized with your acquisitions rep and or yourself. People need to get their systems refined and really try a marketing channel. So I think that trial and error, but again, my partner had already been doing some marketing direct to seller when I joined up with him. I had learned a lot of stuff from books, so it was just theoretical for me. And then again, me and him just bounce ideas, and then we tried it. Once we figured out our sales funnel, we knew we had a bona fide way to close deals. And again, that's what also made me very successful as a wholesaler in the beginning, is because my partner was a house flipper. So we were able to close on properties ourselves. So I was able to stretch my offer higher than a wholesaler would, right? Because if I'm a cash buyer, just like you, Sergio, a wholesaler can't compete with our offer because we're closing on it.
Yeah, we're closing on it no matter what. So, at least the seller.
They need that extra 10, 15, 20 grand, but what's the seller's going to take the higher offer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, for the people that don't know this, speaking about marketing budgets, at least in the Virginia market, Virginia Beach is super expensive as far as marketing goes, right? Because those leads are super hot. But if you're flipping or wholesaling, let's say, Portsmouth, Norfolk, Hampton, Newport News, every lead is going to be at least, if you're super good, $3,000. One lead, one closing, at least. If you're okay, anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000. If you're bad, $10,000. But if you close one deal and you wholesale one deal, you're probably going to make $20,000, $30,000 if you do it correctly. So, let's say you're spending $10,000 on marketing budget and you're closing 2 properties, you're probably making or bringing home net $10,000 to $20,000 at least, I would say, right? So, like you said, you have to do it. You have to spend money to make money, right? That's what they say.
Yeah, I think that one of the bigger things too that I see with these new I call them the new generation of wholesalers, the YouTube generation, I guess you could say, is that they don't really understand the value of their time, right? So they'll lock up a deal and say, I want to make $25,000 on this one. And I'm helping them with the discipline. I say, hey, look, the market has spoken. You're only getting offers for $12,000 over what you have it under contract. You can't make 20. You're going to spend and waste your time. This is a volume game. You're spending and bogging down all your time, energy, effort, trying to squeeze every single drop out of that lemon when, hey, you needed to squeeze and go.
Yeah,
you see people make lemonade. They squeeze, one, go, squeeze, go. And that's how you fill your cup, right? You get the cash flow in, but you're trying to squeeze everything. It's going to take you a lot longer to fill that cup, right? And so that's what I see with these they don't understand numbers. They don't understand that how much time and energy and effort they're spending trying to suck everything. And they're trying to deal with people. I usually get these deals, these joint ventures, because they've dealt with an investor that had hard money that was paying the highest price, but they could not perform. And people don't value relationships. These new people, because they don't know who's who, right? They really don't have the experience to vet them. But they don't, I would sell a property to a guy like you for $5,000 less to someone that I don't know.
Right.
Because to me, at $5,000 less that I'm taking, but I have the comfort and security knowing that you're going to perform on the property and I can keep pushing to my next deal rather than being nervous if you're going to perform, if your hard money falls through or whatever. You know what I mean? I like security, I like relationships, and I like to scale.
Absolutely. And do you make the calls yourself or you have people working for you in that end? Who takes it when you have all these leads coming in?
The day-to-day calls of, you're talking about to set appointments?
Yeah, for sellers. Like if I guess, you have, I don't know if you use mailers, what kind of marketing you're doing. I've seen your Facebook ads and whatnot. Yeah. But I'm assuming you have some call-ins and just some call-outs as well. Are you making those?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do it still. Yes. I enjoy it, to be honest with you. I have a good acquisitions team. They're on top of it. They do set a lot of appointments. But I really thoroughly enjoy hopping on the phone still. It's, I don't know, it's therapy for me. I love to be challenged. I feel like cold calling is challenging because every conversation is different. Everyone has different objections. And I love doing it. Do I do it as much as I did in the beginning? not anywhere close because I have other responsibilities, because you can't work in the business and on the business, right? And so I have stepped back and allowed my team to take over that. But there is times where on a weekly basis, I'm still making those calls. But again, the amount of experience and reps I've had, I can process 100 leads in the time, and maybe half or a quarter of the time it takes the average person because of my experience and knowledge. And it's something that I enjoy. It's not tiresome for me. And again, because of the experience, I have a great conversion rate on setting an appointment.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you're a master of that. I'm guilty. I don't call anyone. I don't get calls. I have a whole team of appointment setters and they do great. So what's your take on that? Do you think, what is your take on appointment setters in general? Do you think that works for everyone?
I think it's great. It all depends on how your company's structured, right? I still make calls because I also do it with my team. I do it with them. I have the methodology is I do, you watch, we do, and then you do, and then I watch.
Correct.
Right? So I can train them correctly to overcome some of these objections, how to pitch certain offers, certain structures. And so I do that. I do believe in appointment setters as well. But if you're training a team up under you, and I'm here in the office with my team, I do feel that you need to at least understand a little bit about the process, but you don't need to be making the calls yourself to run effectively. But again, Sergio, some people don't understand the principle of, hey, I don't like cold calling, or it's not one of my strengths. That, like you say, you have a team where you outsource that and spend money. Most people will try to figure it out, and they do things that they are not good at. They do not delegate. So you got to really write down that T-chart of what your strengths and your weaknesses are, and you have to delegate almost all of your weaknesses and then even some of your strengths. What is the highest return on your time as the entrepreneur?
Absolutely. Love it, brother. I love it. And I know you get it wrong, so I just want to ask you 2 more questions if you have time. So the first question, I have a virtual assistant company as well. So I wanted to ask you, do you use virtual assistants? And what is your take on that?
Absolutely. Our business is heavily reliant on virtual assistants in all aspects. And I feel, honestly, that the work ethic, again, I always go back to that. These people that are in these other countries, and I've traveled the world quite a bit, they just have a different work ethic. They have a different engine. That American work ethic has been eroded over the last couple of decades that this country was built on. This country was built on hard work. And these people are hungry, these virtual assistants. They're educating themselves in these fields because they know that these opportunities are available to them from these American companies getting outsourced. So, hey, I strongly believe that if you don't have virtual assistants in your business, you're behind the 8 ball. You're behind.
Absolutely. Because and people don't know this. I don't run my flipping company or my wholesaling company. I spend about 2 hours a week in that business, and it's generating a couple $1 million, and that's all through virtual assistants. And when people say it doesn't work, I'm like, well, it does work for me. Like it's working pretty well for me. So, my operation lady in the flipping company, she's located in Central America. My lead manager is located in Central America. I have 4 appointment setters all located in Central America. And they're, like you said, the work ethics is just fantastic. Like they're grinding every day. They don't take days off. They never an excuse. They just want to learn and make money and be better. And, I don't understand why. I guess I do understand why it doesn't work for some people, but
I know why it doesn't work.
What's up? What do you have?
They hire a VA off Fiverr and don't do any training. They don't train them properly. They don't give them they don't even have a system you have to have a system and process to hire a VA into. If you're you're not using a company like the thing is why you should use a company like yours is because you already have a system and process. They're already trained. If you hire a VA off Fiverr, a freelance VA, they are not properly trained. And if they aren't properly trained, that means you have to have the ability to train them. So whatever you're hiring them to do, that means you have to have knowledge on how to do that thing, right? Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people, they just hire someone off Fiverr, expect them just to plug and play and no training and expect them to run basis, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what projects are you working on right now? Any new projects?
Yeah, I mean, lots, man. I've kind of crossed over a lot into the commercial space.
Hmm.
So I'm rehabbing a hotel currently. I'm
Wow.
purchasing a flex warehouse space. I'm purchasing a storage unit facility. So kind of doing some of these bigger deals, bigger syndications.
There you go.
Is kind of what, because I like to be challenged. It's not so much for the money in real estate for me, because what we do pays well. I
Right.
think a lot of people get caught up in chasing a dollar amount rather than a vision. If you chase a vision, the money kind of just follows, because again, what we do, no matter what aspect you're in, it pays a lot of money. And then, I'm going to get really heavy. I started doing speaking engagements. I just spoke last month in New York City, and I'm going to continue to, get on stage and, get my message out there and try to educate people and give back. So that's kind of my focus, building the brand. I didn't really get active on social media until I had real success and real results. I didn't want to be one of these internet gurus that rents a Lamborghini and tells you, hey, buy some course. I don't have no course I sell. I have partnerships I sell. I have opportunities that I sell. I do not sell courses, right? I wanted to have the real results before I profess and tried to grace any stage or land on anyone's social media feed. I wanted to be what I was professing to be.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that take because a lot, like you said, a lot of people are just fake gurus. They haven't flipped a house or they haven't done any real business other than selling courses. And I think that sucks.
That's their income. People don't realize that you're funding their lifestyle, not what their profession or their area of expertise. They're not successful in it. They're successful at the course selling. And you're funding their lifestyle. You're funding the Lamborghini. You're funding the rented penthouse in Miami, right?
Yes.
It's not the business that's funding that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And how can people find you on social media now? Do you want to drop your Instagram?
Yeah, Gio_Paradis. No E at the end. Paradis.
We'll put it here with the guys. And Facebook, can they find you on Facebook or no?
Yeah, Giovonni Paradis. Same thing. On Facebook, it's my middle name, Devin Giovonni Paradis on Facebook. So real name, no gimmicks.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you, brother. I really appreciate the time that you're taking to spread your knowledge. I think it's something to applaud. And I guess I'll see you soon. All right?
Yeah, sure. All right, brother. Keep crushing it.
Cheers, brother. All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Giovonni, thank you for bringing your vision, energy, and insight for today's conversation. It's been inspiring and eye-opening. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in and cracking the code. If this episode sparked new ideas or energy for your business, be sure to follow, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support keeps this platform growing and brings more powerhouse guests to the table. Until the next time, stay bold, stay creative, and keep cracking the code.